Are you ever financially ready to have kids? Let me ask you, are you actually ever ready to have twins? We're going to be hearing from expert Amy Masters on how you can financially prepare for and thrive when starting or expanding your family. We've got that and more coming up. Welcome to a bonus episode of The Wise Money Show, where we dive deep into a topic or question from a fan of the show with one of the experts and financial planners here at Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard. I am the host. I am also one of the certified financial planners on the KFG team. And with me in the KFG studios today, one of the all-star CFPs at Korhorn Financial Group, Amy Masters. Amy has been a CFP on the team for over a decade. She's a graduate of Purdue University, married to Austin, has a few kids, and is one of my favorite guests in the Wise Money Show. She's been on the show a few times. Amy, welcome into the studio. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to be here.
Okay, so then don't say it like that, because it's been a while since Amy was in the studio, and that was because she and her husband, Austin, were expanding their family and decided not to just have one. It was your guys' decision, right? Decided not to just have one child, but added twins in addition to the child you already had. So what a blessing.
Definitely a blessing. It took a minute to realize exactly what that meant for our family. We always wanted one or two, and so 3 is perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and the twins are now what age?
So they just turned 6 months. So we have a 5-year-old and 2 6-month-olds.
And are they like the 5-year-old Alice? Has she accepted the twins, her sisters?
She is the best big sister you could ask for. She's an entertainer, and they like to be entertained.
Okay.
So it's perfect.
And that helps you as well.
Yes.
So, all right. So hot take here. And this is, coming from experience and kind of wild experience here. Amy, there's a saying that you're never financially ready to have kids. Do you believe that's true?
I think that is pretty accurate. I'm a planner, and I had already planned out. We knew we wanted to expand our family. I'd built the budget. I'd run the college numbers. I'd already started looking at that. And then, like you said, it was 2 instead of 1. And so that all kind of went out the window, and had to rebuild some of those spreadsheets and everything that I had worked on. So whether you're a planner and prepared, still life will throw you curveballs, or, if you're not quite the planner, no, I don't think most people are truly ready for what it means to have kids.
Well, I want to put you on the spot and dive into more of your experience specifically, and if I can. But I want to go a little bit deeper on you're never financially ready to have kids. Life's gotten more expensive. I have said multiple times on the show and in some of our Next Rise Step videos that, golly, getting started financially nowadays seems so much more difficult than it has in the past with housing affordability or unaffordability, those sorts of things. You think that's playing into, never financially ready to have kids, you think that's playing into people not starting a family until later in life?
For sure.
Yeah.
Just for us, at least, that we always kind of knew we wanted to wait to have kids. So that's what we did. And so, trying our best to be as prepared in our finances, the foundations, I think helped us be more ready for kids when they came. So, focusing on building emergency funds, making sure debt's paid off. That was always a really big focus early in our marriage.
So I guess I would say, and we'll get into a little bit of this, but, never financially ready to have kids. There's some truth to that, whether it's fully true or there's some truth. But you're going to want to have a solid financial foundation. And that doesn't need to be, you need to be, blemish free or perfect, but making sure that you've got your cash flow system, 3 bank account system, maybe that you don't have unruly credit cards, right? That's a sign of not having the right cash flow operating system. And maybe a baseline emergency fund, maybe not fully funded, but a baseline emergency fund. All right. So back to you, putting you on the spot. When you guys found out you were having twins financially, again, you don't need to get into all the secrets or whatever, but what did you do? What did you think? Financially, what were the first things that you did?
Yeah, I think the drive home from the ultrasound when we found out it was twins, the 2 things we talked about was, we need to talk to our daycare, find out what is that going to cost. And also I remember this vividly. We knew we were going to need new vehicles, but then it was we have to get new vehicles because 5 people, 3 car seats physically would not work in the cars that we had. And so we knew there were going to be some big expenses that we weren't necessarily planning for needing to do right then.
Okay, I'm going to double click on that because we had the same thing. And this is still something that I tease Cindy about, my wife, that so we've got 3 kids as well, not at the same time like you, but in each of them, there were new expenses we weren't anticipating. So when we had our third, we had talked about, well, are we going to move or whatever? And when we had the third, it was, well, move or do a home renovation because we didn't really have an entryway and blah, blah, blah. And, you walked in the laundry room. And again, these are easy problems. Like we could have lived with it. But Cindy was like, so I said, hey, we're having, you're pregnant. That's out the window. And she said, no, that means we have to do this. And she was 100% right. The financial planner in me freaked out. But in addition to having that financial foundation, making sure that you've got margin because it likely is going to bring some new expenses beyond just childcare or some other things.
Yeah, definitely. And that was part of why I think that 3 bank account system is so important. We reworked our budget and we started living as if they were already here well before they actually were here because we knew there were going to be some of those additional costs like daycare that were reoccurring on a monthly basis. But we would try to take that cash flow and build up some extra reserves for we're going to have to replace a vehicle sooner than we expected. Cribs and strollers and all the things that we had saved from our 1, but that was no longer super helpful when we were going to have 2.
Right.
And so, we just tried to live under those finances as early as we could. So we had that extra margin and it made it so that transition when they were here and we had those additional costs, we were already kind of used to it.
Okay. So that certainly seems like one of the habits or disciplines, but what are the couple of habits or disciplines that you would recommend a family do in their finances, either we're expecting now or as they have expand their family or have a child? What are the couple disciplines that you would suggest from your experience, both personally but also serving hundreds of clients, that would help someone not only just prepare financially, but really thrive financially, if that's such a thing, when you're expanding or growing a family?
I think the biggest thing I would recommend, and this is something we try really hard to do, is just being on the same page as your partner. I feel like there's different ways you can go about how spending looks with your kids, especially. And at least for Austin and I, it was really important that we had as much control as we could over our time. So when we did buy things for the twins, it was things that we felt like helped save on our time. So I had never expected to buy a bottle washer. We bought a bottle washer because it was like, I don't want to spend my entire evening washing bottles. And so, we wanted to make sure we could be as present with the twins when we have them, that was a big priority to us. That doesn't mean that's the priority for all couples. But for us, it was, how do we make sure we're buying things or using our finances to help capture as much time as we could.
Did you guys have different, opposing goals? Or were there any where Austin was like, hey, I think we should do this? And you're like, that would be a lot of money and that's not going to move the needle, or we shouldn't do that, or maybe the opposite?
So there was one, and then we ended up doing it. So it wasn't really on my radar, but and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this on the radio here, but I'll do it. We, for the first time ever, hired out some lawn service. We both liked doing it. We're like, oh, we can do this. And it was like, again, that time of, is that really how we want to spend our evening when, that getting home from work and getting the kids down for bed? We want to be home. We want to be in the house with them. We didn't want someone out mowing the yard. So that was actually something when he first brought it up, I was like, there's no way. And then we ended up doing it.
Oh, you shouldn't be ashamed of that at all, because, it falls right in line with what you said. And we didn't have twins at all, but I can imagine, yes, finding an hour and paying for an hour to be present with the kids, in addition to having an amazing career you do and Austin does as well. And that's important to your guys' family. And so I wouldn't be embarrassed about that at all. That makes a ton of sense. What are some other habits or disciplines to help families thrive when they're starting a family, when they're adding to family? What else?
Yeah, I mean, the budgeting I mentioned, I think that's really important.
Can we go a little bit deeper there? Yeah. So Amy and I worked very closely together at the beginning of Amy's career. Not as much. She is mentoring others, and we don't get to work together as closely that often. But I don't know if you remember the thought process of when you're starting a family, you need 3 budgets. Most people don't want one, don't want one, and aren't very good at doing one. I'm certainly can be in that camp. But the not oh gosh, I'm sorry, that kid just came out, Freudian slip there. But we're having a child. Now it is, well, we know some new expenses are on the horizon, but they're not here yet. We've got 7 months, we've got 8 months, whatever, before they show up. Let's redo the budget as if those expenses are already here to capture those dollars and adjust to living that way. Then you've got your maternity budget, which is typically down to 1 income or 1.5 incomes, whatever, but you've got those new expenses, but you might not have all of them. You might not have childcare. You might not have some of these other things. And then you've got the life with baby, I think is what I called it. Life with baby budget, which starts after maternity's done, and maybe income's back. All the new expenses are there. Is that still what you recommend? Are there any tips, tricks in like within that 3 budget?
Yeah,
process?
I mean, that's exactly what we did. So we had built out those 3 budgets. And I think that's extremely important for people, especially if there's going to be some big income changes over the course of those 3 budgets. You know, a lot of times clients come to me and say, okay, we want to have this be an opportunity that one of the people in the couple now isn't going back to work. So that budget becomes extremely important of maybe there's not the childcare cost, but there's the income looks a lot different, and benefits might look different if there's only one employer now instead of 2. And so I think that is so critical to build out that budget just so you can kind of reprioritize and figure out, again, what is most important to you guys as a family.
Yeah. As a lead into maybe the last question here, did you and Austin, I know you're both savers and you're both, really talented.
A little bit of a spender. Sometimes.
Thrown under the bus is what they call it. So did you guys make any changes to your long-term goals? And I want to use that as a lead into what are some of the major obstacles or maybe mistakes that people make when they are starting a family, expanding a family financially that you'd want to just make people aware of to hopefully avoid?
So I think part of being an advisor here, and I would really say this would be the case for having a certified financial planner on your side. In my mind, I don't even think about that money, to be honest, because it's always been something we've done from day one as save for retirement, save for our long-term goals. And so I almost forget that that's even happening because I just let it do its thing.
Yeah.
And so that was always something that would never have even been touched for us. And, we're in a good spot to be able to do that. But that was always very important to us is nothing changed with that. And that was always going to be the case. It was some other things that we like to do, like travel. That was like, okay, we got to readjust some of those goals. One, because it's a little bit harder to travel with 6-month-old twins. So.
Or fun, not fun at all, by the way.
Sure. So, there was this looks different, at least in the shorter term. And so that was more of where we started reprioritizing some of those types of goals. But the retirement, the long-term savings, we've always just kind of checked in, make sure we're still on track. But we've always said that's going to be the first thing that happens. And then we figure out our spending from there.
Love it. So pay yourself first, live on what's left. And you can do that even when you're starting a family, even when your present financial position changes. I would say I'd put that at the top of the list of one of the big challenges or possibly mistakes. Now, this is new expenses. And when you're starting a family. And so I get the need to reevaluate. And maybe you do need to adjust some of your long-term savings. But I would do that with the foresight of working with your CFP to see, are we on track? Could we dial it back and stay on track? Could we dial it back for just a season and dial it back up? Many people without an accountability partner or CFP, I wouldn't lump those together, but maybe in this case, I would say, yeah, we'll dial it back, but then we'll start it back up. And they never
It only gets harder and harder to do that sometimes. So yeah, You're right. I think having that person keeping you accountable can be helpful.
I've got a couple other challenges or mistakes, but Amy, what else is on your list? Any other things that stand out?
One of the, I don't know if it's necessarily a discipline, but the biggest thing that I don't always feel like are on people's radar is focusing on some employee benefits, mostly health insurance. So, if you're going to expand your family or start a family, just making sure from like a health insurance standpoint, you're maybe making decisions that make the most sense in alignment with that if you have the option to do so. For us, that was a big thing of we've been really focusing on building up our HSA. We knew there was going to be a lot of medical expenses. And so just making sure, again, we were in the best position possible there. Sometimes with multiple employee benefits, we can switch which health insurance we're going to be on for a time of, and then switch back potentially. And so that's one that sometimes isn't always on people's radar, but should be something you look into.
And I was going to mention in the same vein, life insurance. Right now, you've got more dependents that are relying on your income and your financial contribution to the family. And so, that could be another one of those surprise expenses. I wasn't expecting that that I'd need to add more life insurance, but I need to. And then also estate planning. Now, it's not like you leave the hospital and go directly to the attorney's office and update your estate plan. It doesn't need to be that urgent. Hopefully your documents are written where it says, and all children. So leaving that open. However, you are going to want to update that at some point, and not only update it, but reconfirm who's playing what roles.
That's right. The guardians might have said yes when it was 1, or they still say yes if it was 3.
Oh, by the way, Ava, you could remove me from that. Yes, no thanks. And then lastly, we already talked about it as one of the disciplines, but it certainly is an enormous obstacle, and that is the budgeting. And so therefore, like wherever this message is hitting you right now, and even if you say, hey, we're past the kid stage, but maybe your kids or adult kids are about to have kids, maybe this information's for them, or maybe you can help give them some pointers. It's making sure that you're attending to your present financial position, that cash flow, working that 3 bank account system. So 3 bank account system, if you're not familiar, your bank account number 1 is your immediate spending, your checking. That's your monthly income and monthly expenses. Bank account number 2 is your non-monthly expenses. Many people think, oh, these won't show up, and when they do, I'll just kind of flex. And no. That's holidays, and that's deductibles, and that's travel, and that is car replacement, car repair, those sorts of things that are going to happen. It's going to happen. The question is, have you set money aside, and are you ready for those? And then the 3rd bank account is your emergency fund. You want to have that's a cash flow operating system. You want to have that in place and the skill at running that prior to having kids, if possible.
Absolutely.
All righty. Okay. Well, I hope that helps you take your next wise step in your financial life. Again, whether you are about to have kids, maybe could be expanding your family, or maybe this is for your adult children. Hopefully that helps. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can work with one on our team. Just reach out to us. You can find us online, wisemoneyshow.com, Korhorn.com as well. That's Korhorn with a K. All right. That's all the time we have for today. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.